Using multiple USB webcams in Linux. Running more than one USB webcam in Debian/Linux results in the following error. What initially seemed to be a programming issue in OpenCV turned into a quest for a mysterious hardware/software problem after the same errors were produced by running cheese and zoff. Apparently it's caused by webcams requesting all the available bandwidth on the USB host controller. With that in mind, I decided to run Wireshark and Capinfos to see just how much bandwidth a single camera used. Interesting. That might explain why two cameras at 320 by 240 work but any higher resolution fails. It's as if my USB controller is only operating at USB 1 speeds, yet USB shows both webcams belonging to a device which supposedly supports 480 megabits per second. One solution proposed forcing the webcams to calculate their bandwidth usage instead of requesting their maximum by running the following commands. Unfortunately, that made no difference, so I decided to try another solution. A post on Stack Overflow suggested telling my webcams to use a lower FPS or compressed video format like JPEG, but after running v4lctl list it doesn't appear either of my webcams support changing their video mode. And that's where I'm stuck. Why would two webcams operating well below the maximum speed of USB 2 would produce this error? P.S. It's not a disk space issue, DF displays no change when the webcams are started. PPS, if it makes a difference, here's the output of USB.
Ding ding. Managed to figure this one out with some help from the nice people in #V4L on Freenode. Long story short, V4L2CTL is the best tool for debugging USB camera issues. Read all the available commands and the man page, it'll be fun, I promise. Using V4L2CTL I discovered one of my cameras did not support any compressed video modes. You can check what modes your cameras support by running the following command, which should output something like this. If the only pixel format returned is UEV, IVE, I420, or GBRG, you'll only be able to run one camera per USB controller since those formats are uncompressed. Using multiple webcams which support JPEG or some other form of compression will work fine. If you use OpenCV like me, don't worry if the default pixel format isn't compressed, as it appears OpenCV defaults to using compression anyway. Unless you're happy with 320 by 240 resolution or lower.
The answer is to use the UVideo modifications written by SpivRefugee and described above. He and I have worked together to get the moded code compiled for OpenIT with success. The version I am running it on is OpenIT designated driver, bleeding edge R48130 on a TP-Link WDR 3600 router. Result, I can have 3C270, Logitech, running simultaneously at 1280 by 960 and 15 FPS in MJPG format through a USB 2.0 hub. I do not have a fourth C270 to hook up, sorry. I can also have two C270 and one Gembird 640x480x15 FPS with your format, but adding a second Gembird leads to the dreaded unable to start capture, no space left on device, space equals bandwidth here, as you know well. Note that Gembird, 1908 to 2311, equals this URL. CPU usage with 3C270 is fairly reasonable on a WDR 3600. If the community gives some reputation and support, I think SvivRefugee is willing to get the code into Youth Linux.
I looked at the webcam driver and the quirks equals 128 module parameter is ignored if the stream is JPEG compressed. My webcams of choice have been the Logitech C500 and the Logitech C270, and I found that the image produced by the C500 at 1280 by 1024 is 100 kilobytes and the image produced by the C270 at 1280 by 960 is 200 kilobytes. If I run the C270 at 10 fps, then the bitrate required is 10 by 200,000 by 8 equals 16-bit/s. In Ubuntu 14.04 the UFDriver module always allocates 196 MB/s regardless of the frame rate. For the C500 it is a little better behaved, but is still a bandwidth hog. I have modified the webcam driver so that I can provide a compression factor to the driver through the v4l2 interface. It is a little hacky in that I use the priv attribute in the struct v4l2_pics_ format to specify the value. In the driver it calculates the size of the uncompressed image and then divides by the compression factor to work out what USB bandwidth to use. By default I use a compression factor of 10, which allows a large margin for if the camera encounters a particularly hard image to compress. The C270 running at 1280 by 960 and 10 fps now uses 41 bit/s and I can easily run 4 cameras on one bus. If anyone is interested in this feature, then I will attempt to get the webcam maintainers to consider the compression factor concept.
If you want this for this, puder conseguir subscrever.